Hi, this is Micornus Phokane, the leader and the founder of the Young Men Empowerment Forum. Of course, we are speaking about identifying those signs of toxic job environment before it is too late. And today we want to deal with part two of this topic, that you may be able to identify those signs. And we want to speak about those signs so that you can identify them while it's not late yet. Because when it is too late, you're already fallen into depression. You're falling already at a place where you're suicidal. And some of the young men have actually taken off their lives because they've been stressed, they've been in a toxic environment, and they never picked up the signs much earlier. And that's the reason why we deal with this topic today. It's part two today. And the first thing that we want to mention today is lack of balance. Lack of balance is whereby you work nights, you work weekends, and even when you're on leave, sometimes they're calling you. There's no work-life balance, and that becomes very problematic. And majority of the people that have been stressed by situations whereby there's no leave at all, you're working night shifts, you're working weekends as well. There's no time actually that you can actually spend with your own family. There's no me time at all with this type of a job where you are. And that's something that you should actually identify as some of the toxic environments that you may need to start working out yourself from and start developing into seeking somewhere where you'll be a bit more balanced. Lack of balance, therefore, becomes very problematic. And where there's no time off, and time off is discouraged at all times, or is met with passive aggression remarks normally, whereby when you tell your manager that you're off sick, it is why are you sick? And things like that. Those are aggression statements. Those are statements that are lacking appreciation at all. And when you see signs like that, you must actually start saying that this is an environment that is toxic. This is a job place that is toxic for me. And I might soon walk into myself or drown myself into stressful situations, or sometimes even into depression. But before it is too late that you arrive into depression, please identify that and make sure that you make some means, even if it means that you start looking for a job while you're there. Because that's very important that you take care of yourself. Your mental health is very important for you. You cannot actually expose yourself to a toxic environment like that and think that you will survive. Because majority of the people are sitting in toxic environments that they've never seen a way out of it. And they are drowning there. And as I said, one day when we realize it's only when somebody now start actually getting depressed and they're getting admitted in hospitals because they've got mental problem now. And they've been in this situation for a very long time, and they've never been able to identify the signs quite early. And this is the reason why we're dealing with this topic, that identify the signs of toxic environments much earlier before it is too late. Now, the other thing is a place where there's no transparency. That automatically becomes toxic, an environment of job environment whereby nobody knows anything because everything is hidden. Everything seems to be confidential, and nothing is transparent at all. These are type of places that becomes very toxic. And we want you as a young man to be careful of this type of places, that you are able to identify early on that this is a toxic environment. And don't actually stay in a toxic environment for too long. As I said, it becomes very dangerous for your mental health. A place without transparency, you are out of the loop almost about everything, even on information that is important for your role. It's hidden from you because the boss sometimes want to take shine of it, or maybe the boss want to hide information from you as if they are testing you for what you are supposed to be doing, as if they want to test you for your knowledge. It's unnecessary, because when it's an information that is related to your role, that must be open for you. How to do your job. If it is actually resources as well that are necessary for your role, it must not be hidden. It must be avoided. It must be provided. And that is very, very important. And we emphasize in that in an environment that hides even resources that you need to use for your own job, for your own task that you need to do, that is toxic. Because what will be the reason then that the manager is hiding the resources? is hiding the information that you need in order to perform. Why are they hiding that? That is toxic environment. If it's malicious, then it becomes even more. But it may be sometimes because of the ignorance of the leader or the manager. Therefore, you need to maybe speak to them and make them aware that you need such information. You need such resources that you need to use for your own job success. And therefore, after speaking to them, if they continue feeling that there has to be no transparency still, that becomes toxic then. And that shows that the toxicity is actually internal, intended for or intentional in that environment. So please be aware of that. And we want to emphasize that, please, environments like that are not places that you need to stay if there's clearly an intention of no transparency in that workplace. Now, there are times when big decisions are made behind the closed doors, and those big decisions are just not shared with you. And they are made sure that those big decisions are not actually open for you. You are not allowed to know them. You're not allowed to hear about them. And that becomes problematic because when big decisions are made and you are hidden or you are actually evaded from knowing those big decisions, and that becomes detrimental because you may find yourself doing things that are not supposed to be done while a decision has been made in a different way in this particular environment. That is toxic. And we have seen managers that are threatened or insecure about their own employees. We have seen them actually making an environment to be non-transparent. And because there's no transparency in there, they will make decisions behind the backs of their own employees. Now, as a young man, if you are in such an environment, please identify those signs from the word go, because the later it takes, the more it is going to be detrimental for your own health. And some of you are having blood pressures that are abnormal. Some of you have actually contracted diabetes mellitus, sugar diabetes, and so on. It's very important that you pick up those signs before you fall into that. And there are some of you who have fallen into depression because you haven't picked up these signs much earlier. And why we speak about them is that as a young man, identify, please, these signs while it is still early so that you don't fall into a bigger mess later. The other thing is high turnover. This is one of the biggest signs of toxic environments. Many people, when they are not happy with an environment, they resign and they leave. If you are working in an environment where people resign so much, maybe it is time for you to find out why people are resigning so much. Maybe it is time for you to investigate on your own on why are people leaving. It could be that it is a sign of toxicity that you may have tolerated for very long time until you are not actually able to identify or to see that this is a sign of toxicity anymore. You are so used to the abused. You are so used to actually to an environment that you are oppressed so much, and you are actually staying in there. You have stayed in there for a very long time that you cannot see any sign anymore of toxicity there. So this is very important that when you see a lot of people resigning, so please question that. Please be inquisitive to want to know why are people leaving in big numbers like this. An unusually large number of people leaving is actually very suspicious. Because it cannot be that everybody want to leave at the same time, because if people leave at the same time, there must definitely be a problem. And that problem must be exposed, and we must know what it is, because it is a sign of toxicity. And that toxic job environment is soon going to affect you, as we have said, and you might actually run into a very big problem mentally or psychologically. And that's very important that we mention that. Leaders and teams are reshuffled often. People are moved from one department to another. People are shuffled from one position to another. That must be something cooking underneath. And that's something that you must be suspicious about as well, because it could be that there is some toxicity of some sort in this work environment, and this is the sign. And please pick up those signs much earlier. As I said, if you pick them later, they become problematic, because it is the time that when you pick them out is because you pick them out at the time when you are really deep into it, deep into stress, deep into depression as well. And we don't need that point to arrive at all. And we're speaking about leaders that are creating instability as well by demoting and demoting people often, as I said, moving them around to an extent that people start seeing, no. Everything is becoming unstable here. As much as we say we are ready for change management, but the changes are just too much. And they're happening almost every day, and people are moved from one point to another. That could be a sign of toxicity as well there. We want to end up here today, your host, Micornus Phokane, the leader and the founder of the Young Men Empowerment Forum. This was part 2, of course, and we want to make you aware of our Facebook page, Young Men Empowerment Forum. So please follow us there. Please like the page, click notification button. Don't forget our Facebook page, Micornus Phokane as well. The same can be done. But our YouTube channel needs to be subscribed to, and it's under Young Men Empowerment Forum. And we believe that if you subscribe to that Young Men Empowerment Forum YouTube channel, please, you will be able to share it with your colleagues, with other brothers, with other young men that may need to hear this topic. So please share that with them as well. And the good Lord will bless you. Don't forget our TikTok account as well. Very important. And we have seen the rise in views on our TikTok account. So please feel free to continue sharing it as well. You may be able to share it on WhatsApp with other people. Very, very important for you to be able to touch a lot of people that we are speaking to all over the place. And we believe that you will share every video that we have shared on this platform, and the good Lord will bless you. Remember, this is a Young Men Empowerment Forum. We are developing young men, ordinary young men, in fact, into extraordinary men of wisdom, integrity, and character. And of course, we're doing this through kingdom principles. And we believe that you're following us at every single stage. And as we do part 3 tomorrow, you'll be there with us as well. May the good Lord bless you. Allow me to check out right here and say cheers for now.